All right, well, this is cool. So I'm Dr. Hoyle, Marcy, and from Delfield. I'm from CMU, obviously. And I just want to share a little bit about projects. I would say what I do, but it's not what I do. My colleagues and peers do a lot of the same stuff, so I just get a chance to share specifically my class. My class, I do it in, is called Marketing 460. It's organizational selling. And we do that because most of the students, like right now, my class, probably 3/4 are graduating in May, the balance either in the summer or next fall. So they've got their toolkit all packed up with all this stuff they've learned. So what with this project, I'm asking them, hey, open it up, start taking the stuff out, see how you use it. Does it work? Is the old guy, did he know what he was talking about? So that's really these authentic experiences, which Marcy's going to tell. And it's beyond Delfield. I've had not-for-profits, I've had for-profits. I see Haley from Thomson Reuters, which has contributed, many others, even the CMURC, we've had them participate in the past. So even though we're going to talk about one example, I think it just highlights how this experience can benefit the community, the university, students and faculty and all that. So that's the reason why we do that. How we do that, I'm having right now organizations coming in, they're making their pitch, if you will. They're telling them, here's what I need help with, or here's a challenge or an opportunity they're trying to take advantage of. So they're doing that right now, and students are a little bit confused right now, if not a whole lot, and that's okay. So we'll get to that. So again, they're trying to figure out what this project's about, so they don't quite know yet, but I'm saying, hey, listen to the presentations, listen to the stories, listen to the challenge they're presenting. And again, I can't, every time an organization comes, I can't ever thank them enough for the time they spend with that, opening their doors to students to come in and try that. So I know it's a lot to read there, and I know it's probably violating every PowerPoint rule that we tell students to avoid. But basically, talking about confusing students. So they're confused right now, I'm telling you. I know tomorrow morning, got an 8 o'clock class, I've had emails saying, well, now what exactly are we doing? I said, hang on, we'll get to that. So, but I want them to, but when they're confused, their brain's trying to make sense of it, right? They're trying to align with that, and that's okay. I want them to learn complex things. I want them to struggle with complex issues, and I want them to get out of it. Is it going to be on the test? But again, as Dr. Dweck, if you had her mindset, this growth and fixed mindset is really those things that were once hard after we struggled with them. I'm not sure they become easy. They become easier, possibly. Now, I love it because this is just a sampling of what some of the folks have said. And sometimes I tell students, if you just ask questions, because in the sales class, sometimes we think, I've got to have all the answers. I say, no, it's really better you have a lot of good questions. So when I see teams communicate and ask questions, I haven't always got those responses. So, and I love the second one too. It reminds me of why we hire CMU grads. And I'd love to take credit for it, but you know, I can take credit for putting that information in front of the students and the likes of Marcy and Delfield and some of those organizations really challenging students to do that. And you can read the rest. So you get some idea. This is some pretty cool stuff. I get excited. I love it. Sometimes students aren't as excited as I am. But once they get through it, they may have a different perspective. So this is where I'm going to kind of segue to Marcy, because this was an actual email to Marcy from a team that kind of had some faux pas during the process. They canceled a meeting at the last minute, which they had lined up a lot of other supporting cast. So they came into class and said, you did what? Oh, is that not okay? But again, at the end of it, they sent this email. And again, so hold that in mind. So sometimes the students get it, or they'll get it at some point in time, and it might even be after the project's over. So, and finally, you know, these projects allow students to put their stamp on the world. I mean, it's not in the textbook, although they've had a lot of stuff. But again, Jeff Seeley, CEO of Carew, has participated with Dr. Allen in setting up the sales program, and some of the material we incorporate is that real life situation. And then all my colleagues, not only from our department, that's from our department, but the whole College of Business and the whole university, others do that. You know, many of those things happen. And this is the one particular team that I think Marcy will tell you about. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right, thanks, Jeff. All right, so in talking about Delfield, the way that I thought that I would set it up is just to tell everyone a little bit about Delfield. I myself am a CMU alum, and personally, I didn't even know that Delfield was here when I was going to school. So lo and behold, here I end up back in Mount Pleasant working at the company. So the Delfield is a brand underneath the Well-Built umbrella. So Well-Built is our parent company, but there are many other brands that are in the portfolio. So Delfield is just one of those. So as the students are working with us, they potentially have the opportunity to work with these other brands and also be engaged with other people at other brands as well. So you see the portfolio here of 12 different brands. So, Frymaster is a fryer company, and, Manitowoc Ice is our ice company. So we have many different companies that are all satisfying the needs of a kitchen that's anywhere in the world today. Most of these products you will find, and I'll show you some of our customers so some of this can help resonate with you on, who we are supplying our products to. So from a company perspective, again, going back to the fact that I was a CMU student, I never knew that Delfield was even here. So we have 3 different facilities that our products are manufactured in. The largest and where the majority of our products, more than half of our products, I should say, are coming out of our Mount Pleasant facility. So right here in town. We also have a factory in Covington, Tennessee that's manufacturing many of our refrigeration products, more standardized products. And then we have a factory in Monterrey, Mexico that manufactures just one series of reach-in refrigerators for us that are more on the commodity side of the marketplace. So I have a timeline at the bottom that's not really important that you see, just that you see how many times that Delfield has changed hands. So we've had many different names. We've been Well-Built in the past. We were Well-Built back in 1999. Then we went to Notice, and then we went to Berkshire, and we went to all these different names throughout the course of history. And ironically, in 2017, we ended up back at Well-Built, the same place that we were at in 1999. So as we were Manitowoc, and then we were Manitowoc Food Service, and the company started to do some research into brand identity and what people were identifying with in the marketplace. And although all of those individual brands that I showed you had identities, the parent company did not. People were not identifying with Manitowoc Food Service. So we went back to Well-Built because Well-Built means something to people. When you think about Well-Built equipment, that means something. When you think about Manitowoc Food Service equipment, didn't really mean that much to people. So that's how we got to where we're at today. So from a products perspective, it's broke down into the 3 different categories that I mentioned by facility. So in Covington, Tennessee, we have our refrigeration products, a lot of the products that you would identify with an under-counter or reach-in type of product. Then in Mount Pleasant here, we build most of our custom equipment. So where our niche is with our equipment in Mount Pleasant is with finding solutions for our customers. So we are not the low-cost provider. We are not the commodity type provider. What we provide to our customers is solutions. So a customer comes to us and they want to reduce their ticket times in their drive-through window, or they want to reduce labor. Those types of solutions or problems are what we help our customers solve with our solutions. So they don't come to us for just a piece of equipment that they can put in place. They come to us for a unique solution. And then I mentioned Monterrey, Mexico. So the one series of reach-in there that is a more commodity product that is distributed out of our Covington, Tennessee factory. So probably some names that you guys recognize. Delfield provides equipment to the single onesie-twosie mom and pop location that has one location, to somebody like a McDonald's that has tens of thousands of locations just here in the US. So I'm pretty confident that almost everyone in their room has seen our equipment in one of these places. If not specifically Delfield, for sure something from Well-Built, although we don't hold every brand like we would like to. If we don't, some of our sister companies do typically have a relationship with these brands. So I mentioned the solutions, and the reason that we are so strong with all of these big brands that you see on the screen here is because when they come to us, they know that they're going to get superior temperature management. That meaning whether they want to keep their products hot or whether they want to keep them cold, we're going to help them with that. We're going to help them with their flow. We're going to help them with all of the problems that they have. So that's just a quick overview of Delfield. If anyone wants to talk more about it, I could talk to you for a couple of days. So anyways, moving to the projects and how we work with Jeff and others at CMU. So when we take over a project or take on the project, so we go in and we pitch projects to the teams, they select us to work with. So they select the group that they want to work with. When they come to us, we treat that relationship as if we have hired an outside consultant. So when they come in, they get a factory tour, they get the opportunity to learn about our products, they get the opportunity to interact with some of the people that they'll be engaging with throughout the process. That could be our engineering team, that could be research and development, that could even be legal, and I'll tell you how legal had to get involved once. So it can be many different areas throughout our organization, but they have that opportunity to learn in a really safe environment, but also be very challenged. We also focus on very recent, current, relevant projects. So we don't give the students projects that are just maybe what we would consider fluff, like that they're not really relevant, they don't mean anything. We give them very relevant projects where it might be something that we're working on from a regulatory standpoint, or it might be how do we incentivize our salespeople to sell a new product that we have just recently launched, or how do we market our products to different market segments differently. So they have an opportunity to create a lot of different types of projects. And although we go in and we pitch a project, there has been times that the classes or the teams have said to me, hey, we have this great idea and we'd really like to do this. Can we change course? And we're always flexible to do that because if they're passionate about a project, we know it will be that much more successful. So Jeff said that they're in the confusing state right now. They're trying to figure out where do we start, what do we do. This is like a multi-headed dragon that I have no idea which head to chop off first, right? So when they get to me, they sit down and they're like, okay, well, we have this project and we know we have this deliverable at the end that we have to give back to Jeff. Where do we start? So I always encourage them to think of really the things that they've learned in their 101 type classes. Go back to the fundamentals of marketing and their SWOT analysis. So your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats. Your 4 Ps, since we are a products company. So, think about your products, your promotion, your placement, your price. And although every single class, and I'm waiting for one to surprise me, says, are you sure we should start there? Are you sure we should do that? Because they have this big deliverable at the end that they're worried that they're not going to get to. What they find is that it kind of has that onion effect, that they start to peel back one layer and then they find another layer and then another layer and so on and so forth, and it really helps to guide them. So we'll get there, but I know they're sitting around scratching their heads right now saying, what do we do next? So the teams are also pushed to think far beyond what they're learning in Jeff's class. So Jeff is teaching them sales and marketing tactics and strategies, but when they get to the point that they're doing this project, they're learning about things that they have no idea what they even mean. So an example of that would be a project that we did last semester. In early 2017, we launched a new product that has R290 refrigerant. So R290 refrigerant to them, I could say, we're going to launch a product with the Hooten-Kanuter valve, and they would be like, that means the same thing as R290 refrigerant to me. So they have to do a lot of research to understand even what that terminology is that we're selling. So they have to research that R290 is a form of propane, and that we have customers that are nervous about the safety of that. So their project was to promote the safety and ensure our customers that those types of products were safe. So going back to a current and relevant type of project, that was something that we were really launching. It was real time. It had to do with the Department of Energy standards that were changing, so they had to get some regulatory background and knowledge. So from their perspective, not only did they learn how to put together a project to sell that, but they also learned a lot about just how you identify what your products are, and again, back to that SWOT analysis and back to those 4 Ps, and really digging into all of those layers of how they put that together. So I mentioned legal. So this team also wanted to do a Mythbusters video. So they wanted to blow up a refrigerator, and everybody was like, yeah, that sounds really cool. That sounds really fun. We have an engineer in-house that was all hands on deck. I mean, he was like, yes, we need to do this. And so I said, all right, so let's think about how we lay this out. We know it won't. We know it won't. Like we know that there's not a large enough charge in the refrigerator to ever make it blow up. But let's see if, they wanted to see if we could make it happen. Well, our safety and our legal team quickly shut that down. You cannot blow anything up or have a thermal event. So I see Sarah is another product manager, and she's like scowling at me because I'm not even allowed to say blow up. So. So, and one big advantage for us is to have a really fresh set of eyes on things. So, we have pretty sophisticated salespeople and marketing people and pretty sophisticated teams within our organization. But the one thing that we find with the students is that they come with no unconscious biasness. They have a fresh set of eyes. They don't come in and think really, they just think that they want to get through this project. So when you put a fresh set of eyes on things, it's really interesting to see some of the things that they can uncover. So one example of this was the last group that I worked with was working on a project for school segment marketing. So how do we market our products to schools and how do we sell them differently, specifically to that market? So one thing that they uncovered was this graph that shows enrollment predictions from 2014 to 2026. What's really interesting about this is that in North Dakota, it shows a 28% increase in enrollment, but Michigan shows a 10% decrease in enrollment. So what's interesting within that is that if we only have so many salespeople or so much collateral or so much time or just overall resources to dedicate to selling to that market, it clearly identifies where we should be looking. Do we look in that North Dakota market because they potentially are growing schools and they're increasing in their schools, where in Michigan, unfortunately, that's where we are, and that's where it shows a really bad decline. But in Michigan, it shows a decline of 10%. So do we focus our energy there? So that was something interesting, and I actually have a video at the end of this class when they were presenting this information to me that I'll share with you at the end. So overall, we find the projects really beneficial, insightful, and honestly, sometimes a little difficult. So Jeff mentioned that there was a class that had some challenges, and they canceled a really big meeting that we had set up with multiple stakeholders in the project. And they canceled about an hour before we were supposed to have this meeting on email. And luckily I had my phone with me, and I got the notification, and then I had to get everybody, off plan to be meeting in an hour. But the thing about that's important is that we provide direct, instant feedback, in that it gives the opportunity for the students in a safe environment to learn that you can't do that. You can't do that in a professional setting. I mean, things happen, right? We all know things happen. But the answer or the response that we had spring break and we didn't really work on it is not appropriate in that setting. So Jeff and I worked together to think about, how do we take this opportunity as a teaching moment and to help them through that. So anyways, the overall relationship that we hold with Professor Dr. Hoyle and many other staff members is very valuable to us. So not only from the standpoint of us doing projects with them, but then also in turn, we are working on a project right now with Dr. Rao, Dr. Hoyle, and Professor Hussein on creating a world-class customer service program. So something that we're going to be rolling out at Delfield for all of our employees to have the opportunity to be professionally trained by CMU professors in the area of customer service. So we already have great customer service. We've achieved awards for customer service, and you know, we have a whole room full of trophies, but we know that there's always room for improvement. And so for us, having CMU right here, having these awesome resources is very beneficial for us in collaborating with the community and in kind of pulling it all together and utilizing the resources both ways. All right, so now we're going to just show a couple of quick clips of a class that's actually working on a project. This was the last one that I was just working with that they were presenting the school segment marketing. So
when Marcy's getting that set up, just a point. So they don't present in the classroom. I tell them, go present where your organization wants to have it, whether it's wherever it is, go to their place. They'll ask me, what do I do? I said, you're asking the wrong person. Why don't you ask Marcy? So I don't show up to the presentations, because if I show up, this relationship they've built, all of a sudden they turn to me like I'm important or something. So again, so it puts them in an area they're not terribly comfortable with, because how do I get my grade? We'll worry about that later.
Perfect. I went online and I got a few graphs to look at. So this one is talking about how much school districts spend per student. And so blue is really where you want to focus your attention, because those are the districts that are going to be really focusing on their students and what they want. And then right here we also have a state and local spending graph. Top 4, California, Texas, New York, and Florida, those are going to be where you want to focus your attention. They're the ones who spend by far the most on schooling, and it's just surpasses all the other states by a lot. And then lastly, we have this graph. It is where you want to look towards in the future. So I found this on the NCES website, and it is predicting school enrollment going up or down. And as you can see, California, it says it's going to be going down, and Texas, that says it's going to be going up and up. So Texas, I know we already spoke about Texas being somewhere you guys want to focus on. This is just solidifying that fact. Then over here, DC, plus 42, well surpassing any of the other ones. So just some more things to think about moving forward.
So again, I know some of you may have been around Delfield. The gentleman right there, if you knew Jerry Thering, that's his son. And it really makes me feel old. So now I've got kids of people I knew quite well. So Now, did you see Marcy taking notes? That's always a good indication. I don't know if she was taking notes on her critique or taking some vital notes.
So anyways, that was them presenting the actual content. So the next video that I'm going to show is when I'm now challenging them to kind of come up with an elevator speech. Like, what do you really think that we should do? And that's something that I always challenge them to do is, like, if you have me for 2 minutes and that's it, if that, what are you going to say to hook me in?
So honestly, if I had 10 people at my disposal and wanted to blast a marketing campaign, I would focus on the Midwest, the down south of Texas. I know Florida has a lot of schools, and they're one of the top spenders on education. That could be a possibility, but over here as well, New York tops number one top spending, and just this area over here, it's going up. So
it would be
getting
interesting
it
to
over
overlay this to like how many schools are in each state. That would be another element that we could.
So then I'm just saying it would be interesting to also overlay how many schools are in each of these, and then just kind of brainstorming in addition to what they've already put together, how much more we could do with it.
So again, you see all the awards up there. So they got a lot of awards on quality and service. They don't need to get better, but they really do. That's why they got the awards, because they're always striving to get better. So again,